Welcome everyone, I hope you're having a very wonderful day and welcome to my guide for Plains Bisons for Silver Ridge Peaks. Before we begin, I want to quickly break down on how today's guide is going to work. So our first section will be covering all the Bison zones and taking you to 2 hotspots, and then we're going to move on to weapon recommendations and then end today's video with the animal profile, which will have time zones, ammo integrity chart, diamond threshold range, and everything you need to make your hunting life 10 times easier. So let's get right into it with our first hotspot of the day. We're going to open up our map really quick here, and we're going to look at it. We're going to zoom in just a little bit there. And these 2 lakes right here, right next to this outpost, which is pretty accessible and very easy to use. It has probably the best spot for Plains Bison, in my opinion, since the lakes are so close. And every time I have restarted my game and have played these lakes, always have a crazy amount of Plains Bison. Unfortunately, if you guys have seen my last video, you're going to notice that it's pretty empty, as I kind of went on a bison massacre and spree, as I want to see their boundaries of their zones. So there's only probably one good zone on this lake here on my right hand side, and then we come over here to the left lake, which should have quite a few more Plains Bison if they are there currently at this time. We should have a big group down there, and I think I moved another group right there, and there should be another one that moved closer to the side. I do believe. I think they have been startled. That's what that was. But these 2 lakes are pretty good for hunting Plains Bison. I'm not going to shoot any of them today just to conserve time for the video. But I'm going to open up the map really quick and I will show you guys our next zone. Over here at this lake right here should be pretty good for some Plains Bison. This zone has not disappointed. I have 3 spawn zones here for Plains Bison. So let's go check it out really quick. Alrighty folks, so right now we're creeping up to our second hotspot location. I teleported over here. Now I do know the 2 Plains Bison zones are pretty close on this side, so I just need to sneak up to that little tower right there and get inside, and we could take a quick look at this lake. Now this lake also has not failed me, but there is another 3rd hotspot, but we'll get to that at the end of today's video when we're covering the entire map for all the Plains Bison. But pretty much most of the Plains Bison like to stick to the entire right side of this map and the boundary of this Bendon Forest area. They also like to inhabit these 3 lakes up here, just in case you guys are wondering, which you guys will see all of this at the end of today's video. I don't think my bison are actually currently here. Oh, but we do have that one group right there, so we're going to get in here and just make sure. Okay, so my group to my left is not there. I wonder if my tent is just too close, which might be. Oh, nope, they're right here. The other group is right here. So I do have 3 groups of Plains Bison here. One of them, though, unfortunately, is unaccounted. But this, as you guys can see, is a pretty good lake for hunting Plains Bison, as we have 3 zones with 1 group missing. Well, that will pretty much do it for hotspots. I just want to show you guys this nice little lake here. I do recommend checking this out. So with that out of the way, folks, I will see you guys back at the weapons locker, as I'll be covering some weapon recommendations. Alrighty folks, so here we are back at the locker. Before we begin, I want to quickly mention 3 things. First things first is I'm only going to be covering rifles, handguns, and shotguns. I'll not be covering bows because I'm not a bow expert and I'll leave that to the professionals. Secondly, these are just my personal recommendations. I always say go out there and explore and see what suits you and what you enjoy playing with. And then lastly, I'll be mentioning all the DLCs weapons come from in case you want to pick them up for yourself. So let's get right into it with our first rifle today. The Arizona 300 Mag Tactical is my personal favorite rifle for taking out big game. Highly recommend it. It's very accurate, semi-auto, and you have 5 rounds in the magazine. And you can find this bad boy in the High Caliber Weapon Pack DLC. Moving on to our second rifle of the day, which should be right here. The Malamute Semi-Magnum is a pretty solid rifle. It covers classes 4 through 9. It has 3 rounds in it. It's a pretty decent bolt action, but do I recommend it out of the 3 enough to be like top of the class? I put this in 3rd place out of the 3 rifles we're going to be covering today because it's pretty solid for taking out big game. I do recommend putting the soft point rounds on it because every time I've used the poly, it just takes a little bit more extra time for those animals to drop. But this will do the job in case you want to use it. It's very solid in my opinion. But out of the 3 we're going to be covering today, this is probably the last of the rifle bunch here when it comes to dropping the animal as quick as possible. But it is a very solid rifle. Don't get me wrong. It's my 2nd favorite gun in the entirety of Call of the Wild. And you can find this bad boy in the Hunter Power Pack DLC. Moving on to our 3rd rifle and final rifle of the day here, we have the LRR-338. Now this is what I used before the 300 to take out big game. I've even used this to kill a diamond albino crocodile, which was a blast to use. It's pretty reliable. You have 5 rounds in the magazine. You could place some pretty decent follow-up shots with this one as well. And they do have a base game version just like the 300, but I prefer the DLC ones because they just pack more rounds that you can use. Sometimes I just suck at shooting and I need to take those follow-up shots, and you could find this bad boy in the Hunter Power Pack DLC. Moving on to handguns, we have one handgun for today. Technically it's two. It's the Rhino 454 and the Sunberg 454. I've used this thing to kill I used the Sunberg to kill my first Diamond Plains Bison in the game, which I have a YouTube short floating around out there somewhere. But this is a pretty reliable handgun. It will drop them pretty quick. Now, I don't know what the comparison of drop rate is between the 454 and the 4570 round, but I would prefer using the 454 over the 4570, especially in the case you have 5 rounds in the magazine. Sometimes these Plains Bison will charge at you and you will need to take some follow-up shots. So I recommend this bad boy over everything else, and it's a base game weapon. You don't need to pay money for it. Moving on to shotguns, we have my personal favorite shotgun when it comes to taking out big game here. It is the Strandberg 10 gauge. Now I'm going to tell you guys a little forbidden secret about what I used to do back in the day in Call of the Wild. I used to load up on a majority of these shotguns in here, load slugs up into them, and herd Plains Bison herds out into the open and just mow them down off the ATV. That's how I used to make money. I know, but it was very fun for me to do it. And if you want to perform that method and you need a shotgun for the job, the Strandberg with its 4 rounds and it being semi-auto will completely do it. You can just roll up onto the side of the herd, hop off the ATV, and just hit at least one bison each with one slug in the lungs. And there you go. But if you don't want to do that technique, still nonetheless, the shotgun will do the job perfectly, and I've enjoyed using it every single time. And to be quite honest, I have not used this thing to do the ATV hunting yet, but now that I've talked about it, I might try it. So that'll pretty much cover it for all today's weapons recommendations, and I will see you guys over at the animal profile. And here we are, folks, at the end of today's video. I do apologize for taking a bit longer than usual for my weapon recommendation part, as I was reminiscing about the old days of playing Call of the Wild and my dirty ATV tactics. But here we are, and before I let you guys go, I'm going to do a quick animal profile breakdown, starting on the left-hand side at our basic Plains Bison information. Covering the class, difficulty, silver, gold, diamond threshold range. We have our weight from kilograms, 2 pounds from least to greatest. We have our fur types covering common and very rare. Moving to the center of the map, I do want to point out one other extra hotspot location that we did not visit in today's video. As you guys can see, we visited our double lakes here that I have marked here in red, and then we visited the one to the left of that. But just below those double lakes, we have another lake here that I've marked. Now, every time I've restarted this game as well, that lake has always been packed with a bunch of Plains Bison, which I recommend tenting up and checking it out for yourselves. In the top right-hand corner, we have all of our time zones, and then below that, we have our ammo chart for those full integrity kills. That'll pretty much do it for today's video. My next hunt and guide video for Silver Ridge Peak should be the mountain lion, and then I plan on doing the pronghorn and then possibly the mule deer after. And with that out of the way, folks, I hope you guys have a very wonderful day. Happy hunting, good luck, and I will see you guys in the next one.